Research Institute Epoch AI just released a comprehensive study on the future of AI models. Taking into account major constraints like power, chip manufacturing, and training data, they found that AI models will likely continue to grow and scale up until at least 2030. In this video, we'll dive deeper into the research and take a look at the insane numbers they're predicting and how they're justifying it. Humanoid robots can now do push-ups. Boston Dynamics flagship model Atlas recently started hitting the gym and learned a new skill. He seems to be inspiring others because only a day later, a Chinese robotics startup released this clip showing off their own humanoid robot doing push-ups, as well as some other pretty cool things. Finally, Nvidia's AI NPCs are set to debut in 2025. This character from a game called Mecha Break will be the first ever character powered by Nvidia's ACE, which is a highly advanced AI voice system that gives in-game characters human-like conversation skills and much more. So Epoch AI posted this tweet laying out all their research and findings, and pretty much the main question they were trying to answer was, can AI scaling continue through 2030? The first thing they noticed is that AI training runs grow by 4 times per year, and if we continue on that trend, we'll have AI models 10,000 times larger than we do now, a massive increase similar to the leap between GPT-2 and GPT-4. Here's a visual representation of what that would look like, and honestly, just the rate at which AI progresses never fails to amaze me. Of course, this projection assumes we can face current and future bottlenecks, which Epoch AI believes we can, and we'll get into that in a second, but the point is that these models are going to continue to be scaled up as much as possible until we either run out of resources or reach diminishing returns. And if none of those happen before 2030, then we can expect to have frontier AI models 10,000 times greater in scale than current state-of-the-art models like GPT-4. I know scale isn't everything, but if you look at the current state-of-the-art AI models, the best of the best like GPT-4o, Gemini 1.5 Pro, and Claude 3.5 Sonnet are all huge models with hundreds of billions or even trillions of parameters. So again, scale is not everything, but it's pretty clear that the bigger your model is, the better it gets. Now, here are the projected constraints on scaling, essentially showing us what it's going to require to have AI models 10,000 times larger by 2030. First, we're going to need a lot more power, about 10,000 times more to be precise, which would mean models trained on roughly 5 gigawatts of power. This is enough to power an entire city, and it's why we're seeing AI companies exploring the possibility of nuclear fusion, a theoretical technology that would allow us to harness nuclear energy. We're also going to have to ramp up AI chip production by at least 50,000 times, and this is taking into account the various efficiencies we'll see in both the hardware and software of these chips. So companies like Nvidia and TSMC are going to be really busy for at least the next couple of years. Based on these projections, it'll be only possible for the very few large companies that have enough capital and resources to actually build something like this. We know Microsoft and OpenAI will likely be one of them. They've already committed over $100 billion to building out the infrastructure for scaling out their AI models, something I think most companies just can't really afford. Then in terms of data scarcity and data latency, they shouldn't be as much of a constraint as power and AI chips are according to Epoch AI, partly because of things like synthetic data, which is proving to be much more useful than previously thought, but also just because these are software constraints, so they don't require as much resources and investment. Finally, to officially answer the question, will AI continue to scale through 2030, it seems that even with major constraints in power and chip production, as well as data scarcity and data latency, taking into consideration all factors, we should expect to see AI models continue to scale up at a rate of 4 times per year as they have been, allowing for models up to 10,000 times greater in scale than the current state-of-the-art by 2030. It's actually crazy how fast AI progresses. In less than a decade, we're going to go from the initial release of ChatGPT in 2022, when no one really knew what LLMs even were yet, to AI systems with hundreds of trillions of parameters trained on hundreds of millions of GPUs consuming enough energy to power entire cities. This could be about the time we achieve AGI, and companies are well aware of the exponential nature in which AI advances, and it's why they can project figures like this that seem like just hype at first, but are actually just based on scaling. A perfect recent example of the way AI advances exponentially is Meta AI's self-taught Evaluator. Built on top of the LLM as a judge concept, the self-taught evaluator leverages synthetic data to train LLM evaluators without the need for human annotations. So essentially, they're using LLMs to evaluate other LLMs' responses, eliminating the need for humans in the evaluation process. This saves an immense amount of time and resources, and is just one method out of the probably hundreds being developed and implemented around the world on a daily basis. These things compound on each other and ultimately result in the exponential growth that we're seeing right now. As long as the top AI companies continue to share their models with the public and allow projects to be built on their technology, which is obviously something they want to do. As you can see here, OpenAI just recently made fine-tuning available for GPT-4o. So anyone can now build custom AI models based on GPT-4o, which is arguably the best AI model right now. If you remember Cosine's Genie from earlier this week, it was the coding agent we looked at that scored an astounding 30% on the SWE bench, a score 10% higher than the previous state-of-the-art factory's code droid, and it's actually just a fine-tuned version of GPT-4o. OpenAI even tested it on their own version of of the SWE bench called SWE Bench Verified, and it also ended up finishing in first place with a score of 43.8%. So I'm excited to see what people are going to create with this. Considering we already got Genie, the now state-of-the-art coding agent, my expectations are pretty high. AI 21 Labs just introduced Jamba 1.5, a family of models based on a new hybrid architecture that offers some surprising benefits. They state here, Jamba 1.5 Large and Mini are built on the novel SSM Transformer Jamba architecture, which weaves together Transformer's outstanding quality with Mamba's groundbreaking efficiency. So this model is a combination between the classic Transformer architecture, which was invented in 2017 and is what basically every LLM is based on, and the newer Mamba architecture invented in late 2023, known for its incredible speed and low latency. The result is Jamba 1.5 being the fastest on the market, outpacing current frontier LLMs significantly. Keep in mind, on this chart, lower is better. They also have very long context windows in which they claim to maintain the highest quality of performance throughout the entire span of them, unlike other state-of-the-art AI models. Now, for most people, this doesn't really matter because you're never really going to be using a context window this large, but for developers, this is going to be really important. Last thing I wanted to mention, you can see Jamba 1.5's performance on common benchmarks on Hugging Face, which I'll link in the description, and to be honest, the results are a bit underwhelming. It's definitely not on par with current state-of-the-art models in terms of performance, but it does have its benefits like speed and low latency, so it's an approach that we'll be keeping up with to see what more can come of it. In the world of humanoid robotics, we have humanoid robots doing push-ups. Boston Dynamics has been relatively quiet since they announced their new version of Atlas about 4 months ago. They had released this clip you're seeing right now along with the announcement, and at the time it was probably the most advanced movement we'd seen. Of course, since then there's been a ton of progress and the humanoid robotics industry has really started to heat up. I mean, just a few days ago we got this new version of Unitree's G1 model and it can move really well. So since that announcement, all we've really gotten in clips from Boston Dynamics is this clip of Atlas doing push-ups. And funnily enough, as I mentioned earlier, a Chinese robotics company released a video of their own humanoid robot doing push-ups the very next day. The story goes even deeper than that though. The Chinese company Booster Robotics has already been accused multiple times of copying Boston Dynamics, and they even included footage of the robot getting up from the floor completely autonomously, very similar to the Boston Dynamics announcement video. So the competition is getting intense. You can argue that China might be a little bit ahead in terms of the humanoid robotics industry because they have the production capabilities to make a ton of them, and they are making a ton of them, and the more robots you have out there working and completing tasks, the more real-world training data you're collecting, which is going to be extremely valuable for training future robots. Now, don't get me wrong, the US is ramping up its humanoid robotics production as well. There was this recent clip of Figure CEO Brett Adcock talking about some new advancements on their Figure robots, and he brings up a really good point towards the end.
We also have 6 onboard cameras, so we have more perception. We have them in the head, in the back, and in the lower torso. These are our 4th generation hands now. And we've made like quite a lot of improvements over the previous generations. Better sensors, better packaging, better for mass, better strength, better speeds of the fingers. Overall, just better dexterity and control of like fine grain manipulation that we're doing on board the robot. We need to do like human-like applications. So the more here that we can do human-like tasks and grab human-like objects, the better for generalization. Especially if it makes you money, like if it can go out and do work and things like, you know, it could like actually be in the workforce, or it can do things that you would be spending time on during the day. If it can actually like be like a real utility here, I think, how many would you want that could, if it can make you money?
I mean, once humanoid robots get good enough to do actual full-on end-to-end tasks, then you can rely on them to do your chores and other tasks that will save you time and ultimately money. So if there's massive incentive to buy a humanoid robot, which he's suggesting there will be, then there will also be massive demand for them, which results in massive supply, and I don't think people actually realize how massive the humanoid robotics industry is going to be. In other AI news, Nvidia was planning to debut their AI NPCs in a video game called Mecha Break, releasing in 2025. Based on the updated title of this article, it appears that might not be happening anymore, but Nvidia still released a demo of it on their YouTube channel. So this character is powered by Nvidia ACE, their AI-powered system that gives human-like conversational skills to in-game characters, and I'm going to show you guys a quick example of the things you can do with this.
Great, I want to make sure I look good on the battlefield. Could you switch the paint to white and gold?
Let's go ahead and swap out the paint job for a brighter style.
Okay, I'm ready for battle.
These AI NPCs can not only understand you and have conversations with you, but can also perform tasks for you in the context of the game, which just opens up a whole realm of possibilities. In the next few years, I'm sure we'll start to see a lot more video games with AI NPCs in them, and it'll be really interesting to see how people react to them. Because from my personal experience, the conversations that happen over video games are usually just not very civil. Speaking of video games, Neuralink's second patient Alex can now play Counter-Strike on a laptop using only his thoughts. He literally just has to think about where he wants to go in game or what he wants to do, and it happens. The Neuralink device is constantly being upgraded with every new patient, resulting in more and more capabilities starting to emerge. We're also going to see major improvements to speed and accuracy. As you can see, this is Alex attempting Neuralink's WebGrid task, and he apparently broke the previous world record held by Neuralink's first patient Nolan on his very first day. He can also design things in Fusion 360 to later be 3D printed into physical objects. So with every new Neuralink patient, we can expect the device to improve until it ultimately gets to a point where it's good enough and safe enough for anyone, and that might be coming sooner than we expect. Ideogram introduces Ideogram 2.0, a new text-to-image generator. This model is easily one of the best text-to-image generators on the market, producing extremely high quality and realistic images. They also allow users to have more control over the image they generate by being able to change things like color and style. Where this model truly shines though is its incredible ability to render accurate text inside images and graphics. I mean, just look at these graphics it was able to generate. They look so professional and as if someone spent a lot of time editing them, when in reality they were generated in seconds. They also claim their model is preferred significantly over other frontier models in the space, like OpenAI's DALL-E 3 and Flux Pro, the underlying image generator used in Grok 2, along with ratings higher in alignment and text rendering, which is really not surprising at all given the graphics we just looked at. So definitely one of the best text-to-image generators out there right now, and they'll also be releasing an API. So that's all the news for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.